right? So let's open our table. So this is what the form which we created, and these are all the fields. So we talked about reference field yesterday, right? So reference field is reference to the records of a particular table, and it can reference only to a single record, and it will always store the sys of the reference to record, most important thing. And list field, so this is list field, so it is similar to the reference field. Okay, it is similar to the reference field, but you can reference to multiple records on this list field. Okay, list is nothing but type of field, so you can select any. So you can see it is reference to user table right now, and you can select any user record, and you can select multiple records. Okay, can reference to multiple records on this particular field, and you have these options, right? So this is used to log the field. So if you log the field, you can't edit or add the data onto this particular field. So if you want to add data or edit data, you have to unlog it, right? So this is add me. Add me is nothing but it adds the current logged in user into this list. So it is adding my username here, right? So you can select any record and you can preview it using this eye symbol, eye icon. Okay, so select and say preview. So you can preview the record, like how you have preview option for the reported user reference field. You can preview the record. Okay, and you can also add email address. Okay, for example, test@abc.com. You can click on this, so that will be added here, right? So you can lock it this way, unlock it, and if you want to remove the reference to records, say for example I want to remove this user, I can select it and I can click on remove selected item, right? So this way you can add the users. For example, right, so this way you can add. So now this field is now a reference to multiple records, so now it is storing multiple these records sysids are stored on this particular field. Getting it? So observe carefully. I'm creating a record here. So right, lock it, save it. So I have saved it. So this is the record now. You can show the XML, check the XML, and check for the watch list field. So watch list, this is the watch list, right? So you can see this is one sysid and this is another sysid. This is another sysid. That means all the reference record sysids are stored on this particular list field. Getting it? So that's about this. And due date, it's a date field. You can select the date and time information. So you can select the date. So it's a calendar picker, and you can select the time as well. And amount. Amount is nothing but it can store the currency values. It's a currency type field. So you can select any of the currency and you can add the data here. Getting it? Upload doc, using which you can add a file attachment. Right. So this is what the attachment got added here. Save it. And so this is a choice field where you can select the choices, and this is a string field where you can add the string data. Right now, so this is what the attachment that I added. And nodes, this is a journal field, so we need to talk about this journal field. So journal field, observe carefully how it will behave. So update one, I'm adding some data onto this journal field, and I'm saving the record. Saving the record. Now, whenever you're adding input onto the journal field, okay, data is not saved on the field. Data is not saved on the field. Data is saved somewhere else. Data is saved somewhere else. So you can check the data here, showing up here in the activities. In the activities, it is showing up here. So just a moment. Configure form layout. Go to notes section. Right, it is already added. Fine. So observe carefully here. Whatever the work notes that we added, it is stored in the activities. So this is called activities. Okay, the portion where you're seeing all these updates, right? So this is called activity, and this is the field that we added onto the form. So these are all called sections, notes, related records, and closure information. These are all called individual sections. So within the section, we added this field. Now activities actually showing up the journal entries data. So now I add one more data, right? Save it. So now you can see the second work notes data is coming up and showing in the activities. So you can see the data here. So it is added on this date and time. Who added it? This user added. And what is it? It is a work notes data. So it is related to work notes data. So there could be multiple journal fields on the form. Okay. So some could be like with the name called additional comments. Some could be with the name called work notes. So on the incident, if you check, there will be two fields. One is additional comments and other is work notes. So they are the journal inputs fields which are used on not only incident but also on many tables. If I open the incident, so this is a work notes, right? It is present on the incident table. Similarly, so there is a checkbox here, additional comments. Check this to true. Now you can see the field is appearing additional comments. So both the fields are used on the incident. So these are all the journal input, journal fields basically. So what is the behavior of this field? So on the journal field, data is not saved. Whereas you see, I entered data on reference field, it is saved on this field. But on the journal fields, data is not saved. Whatever the data that you add, it will be saved in some other table. Okay, it is saved in the some other table. And whatever the data that you entered, that will be shown in the activities. Okay, so activities will give you all the list of activities that are happening on this particular record. So on this record, what all changes we did, all those will be tracked here in the activities. Now, what about this work notes where the data is stored? So data is stored in another table called sysjournal sys journal field. Okay. So whatever the data that we entered in the work notes, that is saved in another table. So let's go to the table. So it is called journal entry table, but backend name is sys journal field dot list. So this is the journal entries table, and this is a backend table name. So in this table, all the journal input data is stored as individual records. So you can see here. So there are recently 2 records created, 5 minutes ago and 3 minutes ago. And these are the 2 records. Okay, first 2 records. And whatever the data that we entered, update 1 and update 2, they're created as individual records in this journal entries table. So you can see work notes is the element. And so that means we added data in the work notes journal input. So that's got created as an entry here. What value we entered on this work notes? Update 1 and update 2, right? And on which record this updates were added? On this record, right? So copy the sys ID. So as I said, every record will be identified using sys ID. So now this record is identified using this sys ID. So sys ID of that record, sys ID of this record is stored on the element ID field. Getting it? So this is a field which is storing the sys ID of the record which has this work notes updates added. Control F. See, I copied the sys ID. I searched it here, so I see 2 records. So for these 2 records, work notes was added. What was the values? Update 1 and update 2. Now if you add one more update, okay, save. So it is update 3, right? Now we will see a new entry created. So this is the new entry for the work notes that we added. Getting it? So not only for this table, journal entries, data is stored on this table, but also all the tables wherever you see the journal fields, all the tables wherever you see the journal fields, from all those tables, journal input data will be created as an entry here. So this is from a table called alert table. So this is our table, 3 records, and this is alert table record related data. And so there are many entries here, 18,000 entries. So you can also check incident. So type incident here, table name as incident. So for the incident table, for this decided matching record, work notes was added. So this is a test value. Getting it? Likewise, there are many incident records where you see comments are also added. So comment is also a journal field on the incident table. As I said, additional comments, right, on the incident table. So that's also a journal field. Not only work notes, comments is also a journal input field. Is this clear? No.
Yeah, sir.
Hmm.
So in the journals only we have the below some text is there and it is showing the some remaining characters now. So on the
Hmm.
in my instant it is not showing.
Right, right. This is enabled through some property. This will not be shown by default. This
Okay.
is enabled through some property.
And one more thing also, so
Hmm.
on my instant it is showing not showing the update also.
Which one?
Update option. Uh,
Here.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
So this update button will come up only for existing records, okay? Not for new records.
Uh,
So update means update the record. So example, I'll mark it as favorites because we'll be accessing this very frequently. Now, for example, Observe carefully. So we are creating new record, right? Click on new. So whenever you create a new record, submit button will show up. Okay, submit indicates like you want to submit a new record. Getting it? Here on this new record form, you will not see update button. You will see only submit button. Submit means it will show for the new records. I think we discussed this right already.
Yes, yes, but okay. But we
No,
are not saving now before day. That's why I'm confused. I know.
no, we are no submit, update,
Yeah, insert
and
and
insert.
insert
So
and
all these are
save.
already discussed. So update button will show up only for existing records. Okay,
Okay.
right. So let's get back. So that's about the journal input field, and let's discuss about others. Right. So activities will list out all the uh, changes that you're making on this record. For example, you can see here. So there's a funnel symbol here. Click on this, right? And configure available fields, right? So right now it is showing only created. So if you want to audit any fields, okay, if you audit any fields on the table, you can add those fields here. For example, I want to audit state. Did we add status? No. Let's add status. So we missed it. So add the status, configure form layout. You can add it from the form design as well. So make it as choice. Add, bring it after attachment count, save. So add the choices. Click on dictionary, configure dictionary. Scroll all the way down. So choices is the related list here. Click on new. Say open. First choice, okay? Open. In progress. In progress. So two, I can use insert and stay. Pending. Say resolved. Closed.
So can you give the different name also, or otherwise it will be same only?
Can give any value here, not a problem.
Okay.
Need not match always. Can give any name. So let us add a few fields on this list. Okay, so I'll add some number, status, short description. Did we add 2 fields for the description? So go to the table, configure table. Right, I think this can be removed. So you can say delete column. Show form. So we added the status. Now observe carefully. I'll make sure I'll make few changes onto the existing records. Show list. So it will navigate me to the list view. Add few fields onto the list. Say description, short description, reported user, status. Okay. So number is not generated yet, right? So we'll generate that number. Now, so for example, I want to make sure status is audited for the records. So add this on the activities. You see funnel symbol. Click on configure available fields, right? And it is already added here. Save. Now let's see. Update the status here, right? Update the status to open. Save. So you can see the status is audited here. So whatever the changes that you make on the status will be shown in the activities. Getting it? So field changes on which field? Status. It is changed to open. Right. Now, for example, I change it to some other status. In progress. Save it. Observe carefully. The activities is auditing the status. So status was open previously and it is changed to in progress. So in progress is the recent value, old value is open on the status. So this kind of audit you can do on the records, okay, for the field changes from this option. Getting it? So all these fields are audited, created, description, number, reported user, short description, status, right? All these are audited. So whatever the changes that you make on these fields, you will see in the activities. So basically why this auditing required? So to understand what is happening on this record. So tomorrow there is some issue on this record. So in order to investigate, this auditing will help the developers to investigate. Okay, what are the transactions happened on this record? They can check on these activities, they can understand. Okay, so that way you can enable the auditing for the fields. So you will also be doing this kind of thing in your project work. So next, so these are all the reference fields. So I have referenced it to some incident table, right? So these are all the records from the incident table, and you can select any record and reference it here. Related problem. So this is also a reference field reference to the problem table. So you will see all these are the problem records and you can reference to any problem record. closure information, and so it has some fields, closure code and closed it. So closure code, so whenever you're trying to close this record, so that means you're changing the status to closed. I want to make sure like these fields are mandatorily selected. So whenever I'm changing the status to closed, make closure code as mandatory, right? So that user will have to select any of the choice here. So what is the reason that, what is the code for closing this record? Okay, so is the issue solved, or is it issue temporarily solved, or is it solved by the reported user? So based upon these categories, you will select any of the choice here, and closed it should be auto populated upon save. Okay, so this should record the date and time. When was this record closed? So it should record the timestamp. When was this record closed? So automatically that should be auto populating here. So that for that we need to do the validation. We have to write some script and auto populate it here. Getting it? For now, save it. So we understood the different fields behavior here, right? And next thing is we'll see this auto population of this number. So whenever there is a number here, it should be auto populated. For every record, a number should be auto populated. So go to the incident or any other table, type incident. So click on create new under incident. So I'm creating a new record on the incident table. See, this number is auto generated. So this is a unique number. Okay, this is not repeated for any other record. So this is a unique number generated by the system for this record. So it is not blank here, it is auto generating. So similarly, we also want to auto generate number for our table records. Currently it is blank, but we have to make some configuration to auto populate this number. Is the requirement clear? Everybody clear?
It's a clear.
So number auto generation. So how do we generate the number? So steps here, there are few steps here. We need to follow the steps. First, first navigate to the number maintenance. From the application navigator. Okay, create a record in the number maintenance table for the table. So what is our table? So this is our table name. Third step, on the table, set the default value on the number field with get next padded number. So these are the steps that we need to follow in order to auto generate the number. So first step, navigate to the number maintenance from the application navigator. So navigate. So type number maintenance. So under system definition, you will see number maintenance module. Click on this, right? So this is a numbers table. Sys underscore number is a table name. And here all the auto generation for numbers on different tables is configured here. So on the incident, you have auto generation of number. On the problem, you have auto generation of number. Likewise, there are many tables where number is auto generated. So all those tables number auto generation is configured here, okay, in this table. So we also have to create an entry here in this table for auto generating number for our table. Getting it? So now let's see. So here there is something called prefix number of digits, table, and updated. So on this table, right, we'll be giving our table name. Okay, our table name, and we'll be creating an entry. So likewise, these are all the tables on which auto generation of number is configured. Check for incident. So type table name as incident equal to incident, right? So this is the record related to the incident auto generation. Incident number auto generation. Open this. So this is a table incident and prefix. Prefix is nothing but the number starting with this text. So if I show you incident.form, right? So you see here, what is the format of this number? Started with inc prefix and then followed by some numbers here. So prefix is nothing but the prefix that is given here. And number is given as 10,000. Okay, 10,000 means, so the numbering will start with 10,001, 10,002, 10,003. That means this numbering. After inc, so the number should start with 10,001. So you see here, 2 are added and total number of digits here are 7. So that is because of number of digits is 7, and but it's the number should start with 10,000 as per the configuration here, right? So it will take 2 zeros, okay, before starting the actual number. So the total number of digits will be 7. So it will be 10,001, 10,002. Now it is 10,238. Getting it? So you can also give any number here, not only 10,000, you can also give 1 lakh as well, or you can also give 1,000 as well. And based on number of digits, that will be adjusted in the number generation here. Getting it? So we'll see how to configure for our table. So click on new to create a new entry in the numbers table. Select our table. This is our table and prefix. So I'll say test table. So TTL, I'll say test table latest. So here by default it is giving me 1,000. So let me keep it as 1,000 only, and I'll keep it as 7 for now. So numbering will start with 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and total number of digits will be 7. So zeros will be added before the number. Getting it? So save it. So this is first step, right? So navigate to this number maintenance and create a record in the number maintenance table for our table. So this is second step. Save it. right? So what is the third step? So on the test table 9am 2.0, set the default value on the number field. So go to our table. So this is our table, right? Go to our table, click on new. So now on this table, set the default value on the number field. Okay, with get next padded number. So how can you set the default value here? So right click, configure dictionary, right? Configure dictionary. And so this is the configuration part of the number field. And here you see a default value here section. Click on this. Okay. So now you have a link here called advanced view. Click on this. Advanced view will give you more options. Right. So on this dictionary entry, again go to default value. That means you're seeing extra options because you're in the advanced view. Now, what is our case actually? So we want to auto generate the number dynamically, right? For every record. So for every record, I want to generate this number automatically and dynamically. Okay. So number should not repeat for any other record. Getting it? So it should be populated dynamically. So we want to set the dynamic value as a default value onto this number field, right? So you have an option here called use dynamic default. Click on this. Okay. And then set the value here. So select the value from here, the available list of records. So these are all the values pulled up from another table called dynamic filter options. So out of this, so this is the actual value that is to be selected to auto generate the number dynamically. See here, get next padded number, get next padded number. So next padded number means generate the next number for every record. That means, for example, current record is using 1002, and for the new record, generate 1003 as the number, and for the next record, generate 1004. Likewise, increase the value by 1 for every new record. So that is nothing but get next padded number. Getting it? So with this, this is the default value we are setting onto the number field. Click on update, right? Now click on new. See here, number is automatically generated. And what is the format here? So it started with prefix TTL and it started with number 1001 because we gave numbering should start with 1000. So it started with 1001. Total number of digits we gave as 7. So total number of digits are 7 here. So zeros are added in order to match up total number of digits. Most important. So whenever you get a chance to create a new table in your project, so you'll also have to create the number auto generation this way. Is this clear? Everyone clear? So you cannot do anything for the existing records because existing records are already created with empty values. Only for new records, you should be able to generate a number this way. For existing records, you cannot do anything because the records are already created. For new records, the number will be generated. Getting it? So now I can fill out the mandatory fields. save. So the record is saved with all the data, right? Now observe carefully. So on these fields, we can still add few more validations. Say for example, I can open the dictionary entry of this field, reported user field. Okay. And I have something called labels here at the bottom. Click on this labels. Open this labels entry, right? So I have something called help text and hint. Okay. Add something called hint here. Say user who raised this ticket. Update. So I'm adding hint here in this labels. So verify. So you see here, there is a tooltip message showing up on the field, right? So what is a message? User who raised the ticket. So that means this field is having the username or the user reference who has actually raised this ticket. So this way you can display the tooltip field messages. Okay, or you can say hints on the fields, displaying hint messages on the fields, right? So let's make short description as well mandatory. Update. So short description is also mandatory. Select the field channel. Any questions up till now? Right. So we'll add few more fields onto this. Configure, form layout. So add one reference field. Add it as then give the name as manager and reference it to a user table. Sys underscore user. So this is a manager. Place it below to reported user and then add email address as well. So make it a string field. Make it a string field. So we added two fields here. So manager, it is reference to the user table. and email, it's a string field. Okay. Now we'll take up another use case, that is whenever you're changing or you're populating this field, right? Reported user field. Manager should be populated, email address should be populated automatically. So what is the email address of this user? You can preview the record and you can check. So this is the email address. I want to bring this email address and populate here. That means I want to copy this email address and populate it here on this field. Manager. So this user, Prakash Rao. So manager is empty here. If at all there is a manager for this record, copy that manager and add it here. Getting it? So for example, so I'm adding a manager for this user. So this is a test user who is a manager for this record. So now, so the email address and the manager should be copied and then populated here on these two fields. Not only when you're populating this reported user field, but also when you're changing. For example, I'm changing from Prakash Rao to some this user. Even then, the values should be changed or auto populated based on the user selected here. Whenever you're changing reported user value, even then the validation should work in auto populating manager and email address based on the selected user. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So we'll take up that use case in the next class. So it involves writing some script. So we'll do that tomorrow. Any questions before we wind up?